Hey there, my friend. How are you? It's good to have you with us here on the Common Freakin' Sense Network. I am your host, Pastor Eric Hambrock. It is so good to have you. And beside me is the producer of our show, and that would be Kay. Everybody say hi to Kay.
Hey, y'all guys. How's it going?
Is that all you got for us tonight?
For now. I mean, it's late. I'm tired. I've
Yeah.
had an interesting day with kids.
Oh,
so,
okay. Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. I've had an interesting week. Let's see. Within a matter of 3 days, I was in Madison.
It's the
Yes?
second day of the week. So you mean last week?
Last week, in
There
a
you
matter
go.
of 3 days, I was in Madison, Wisconsin, New York City, Dallas, Texas, and back to Madison. And Buffalo and Rochester, New York. Yes, I
Figured
I've
that
been
one
there.
out.
So yeah, I've been around.
I've been everywhere, man.
I feel like it within just a couple of days, but that's the miracle of flying and layovers.
Yes, miracle. Absolutely. Let's figure this one out.
So-
Geographically, I'm not great,
Yeah,
but even I think I could do better than that.
yeah. So I've been a few places and I've seen a few things. Some
Here
of
and
them, tip of the hat to the Groff family. We've laid a loved one to rest in Rochester. Well, actually, officially Batavia, New York, at the military cemetery that is there in Batavia. And the Army did an absolute bang up job, and I mean that positive. A big bang, not a. They didn't mess anything up.
Let's say something else.
Was buried with honors.
They did a
and
wonderful job at the ceremony.
Did a wonderful job and buried him with honors.
Yeah.
There was actually officers there that did the flag ceremony, and tip of the hat to the Vietnam veterans motorcade that gave him a parade through town and led the hearse. So it was really something to be a part of. It was an honor that the family asked me to be there, and so Clyde DeGroff, your million copy seller, you were honored with that. So tip of the hat to him. And God be with you in your eternal destiny, which I, with great confidence, can say you've made heaven your landing. So it's a good thing, very good thing. We will miss him.
Yes.
He probably one of the most humble men that I have ever met, and just a lovable guy. And as a minister, one of the things he personally has done so much for me and has given so much to me and to my family. So we want to honor the passing and the homegoing of one, PFC Clyde DeGroff. So God rest his soul. And we move on with the rest of the show. That's what we were doing. He was laid to rest in Batavia, New York, and the family set my travel schedule for me because they wanted me to be there, and it took me all over the United States. So
I heard you had a good rack of ribs.
I did. I was in Dallas Fort Worth Airport, and I figured, you know what? There's very few things that you can do in Dallas you can't do anywhere else, but eat a good rack of ribs is one of them.
Yes.
And so I ordered a full rack, and I'm telling you what, those guys was tasty.
Was tasty.
Yes, they was.
Yes, I also heard a little birdie told me you got to shake hands with another Eric.
Oh, I did.
Yes.
Eric Steckelback of the Watchmen TV show on CBN. What was that?
He never seems to say it right good enough for Mom to.
Is it Steckelback or Stackelbeck?
Stackelbeck.
Beck. Is it Bech?
I don't know. I like
Okay,
him. I just know his name's Eric.
Yeah.
He's here
Anyway,
okay,
it was great. I was walking through the Dallas airport, and I said, "Hey, are you Eric Stacklebeck?" And he stopped, and he realized where the sound was coming from. He focused in on me, and he goes, "Yes, I am." And so I got to go over and shake his hand. Didn't tell him who I was. You think he'll ever see this?
No. No, someone's going to find it and go, I'm going to send it
to him. Yeah, it's like being told on in the third grade, right?
See, the thing is you're not.
I'm telling.
See, the only thing he was missing is he's got like, 5 or so, a handful of shirts that says that he's Pastor Eric Hambrock, or, executive director of Love Inc., Pastor Eric.
Yeah.
I would just looked at him and I'm like, oh, you were so close. One of the times you really should have worn that shirt, and you didn't, and I was sad.
I did not. And no, I did not. So anyway, you see this guy, he's on TV, he's on
the Watchman's newscast.
The Watchman newscast. He's got a podcast. So I mean, he does more than what we do. Of course, that's his job. That's what he does.
He has built it over time.
So yeah, he was going through the Dallas airport, and I would have never met him if American Airlines hadn't 30 minutes before I was supposed to leave I was parked outside the gate that for all the time that I was there, it said my flight was leaving that gate.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I look down, I got this notification. And it says, in 30 minutes, your flight is leaving from another gate. And it's man. So I grab everything, head down. And as I'm making my way down through the airport, there he is, just walking down the street, singing, do I diddy dum diddy do. Yeah, that's
good.
No, hey, stop right there.
Hold on. All right.
And so anyway, I got a chance to shake his hand and tell him good job, because here's one thing that I know: it doesn't matter how high up into anything you get, there comes a point in time when somebody just has an appreciation for your work that, you know what, it looks good. Because there's plenty of people that want to tear you down. Oh man, yeah, I could do better than that.
Plenty of critics.
There's always plenty of critics. So I didn't want to appear to be negative or anything in any way. So I did two things. I said, man, appreciate your show. Good job. And I didn't tell him who I was. That would have been really negative.
hey,
you
remember
know who I am?
I'm congratulating you. Know who I am, right? My thing is if I ever meet somebody famous, I'm just gonna look at them and be like, thumbs up, and then just walk away, because it's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm good.
Yeah,
you're not that important that I'm going to go out of my way to talk to you.
Yeah.
Or congratulate, especially, I mean, if it's another Christian and I really, really like what they do, absolutely, like, you say, hey, good job, God bless. But, like, when you're talking about, like, famous Hollywood people, or Ben Shapiro, or anybody on the Daily Wire, even down to the, like, some of them are popular famous
people,
famous YouTubers, famous podcasters. I'm going to look at them and go, I don't care. Yeah, I listen to you and I really like you in a certain case, but you are not. But other than that,
you're just a human being.
Yeah, you are not so important that I have to rearrange myself or what I'm going to do to walk over and talk to you.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, he doesn't come across as that. In fact, he very much. I stuck out my hand. He stuck out his. We shook hands, and he said, "Thank you very much." I mean.
Right.
And it felt about as sincere. So anyway, shout out to Eric Stacklebeck. I think I said that right.
I don't know. I hear it all the time and I still can't remember. Sorry. And from his own
and
mouth
I just want to
well.
shout out and I want to say, if anybody, I highly recommend you, if you're taking a look at the Middle East and all that other kind of stuff, take a look at his show. He does a lot of things about what is happening over there. And he does a lot of things. What I like, how I even started watching him, was about the archaeological things that he does over there. But he's got some really good connections.
Yeah.
And he does some good interviewing. So
he also has a nice, easy listening voice.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
So that helps.
Anyway, shout out. go see The Watchmen. Pick them up off
Yeah.
of YouTube. Eric Stackelbeck, if I got that right. Check him out.
It goes underneath the Watchman's newscast.
Yeah,
so.
and sometimes he does live things when things get heated up. He runs his podcast live, and you can ask questions. He'll have on people, and you can ask questions and do things like that. He does a good job. He does a good job. So want him to know that. All right.
Alrighty.
Yeah. And I was going to say, there was.
About time to take a break.
Are we there already?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I feel like what we're going to talk about today really needs
more
a lot
time?
of extra time. Yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to say about one other person, but that's okay. We will.
Well, it's just one extra person.
Well, a couple.
Oh.
I want to give a shout out to. I'll butcher their last names because I didn't do real well in getting them, but I want to give a shout out to a Mike and a Tony that came in for the DeGraw family.
Oh.
And if you guys get a chance to listen to this podcast and so forth, Mike and Tony, thanks for being awesome friends. They drove nonstop all the way from the state of Washington to Batavia, New York, and barely got sleep. And when we all took off, I mean, I flew home. They shared a car and they did the same thing nonstop.
Wow.
Went all the way back home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
And they did that for the family. So I just wanted to say to Mike and Tony, God bless you guys for being there for the DeGraw family.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
I think this would be an awesome time to take a break.
Yes.
And we'll get to hear from one of our sponsors. So let's take a break right here and we will get into today's story.
Alrighty. This portion of our show is brought to you by Stripped Knot Auto Repair. Tell me, is your car horn broken? Are your brakes getting spongy? Does only half of the electrical devices in your car work and 2 of the check engine lights are always on? Well, come on down to Stripped Knot Auto Repair. At Stripped Knot Auto, we can't promise the best prices for repairing your vehicle, but we can guarantee an untimely completion. Is your engine howling, snarling, or growling? Is your engine running the way it should? If not, bring it to Stripped Knot Auto Repair for its yearly tune-up, where we offer the finest shade tree service done by the finest machinist in all of mid-state Wisconsin. So, if you don't like the sound of the horses under your hood, drive on down to Stripped Knot Auto Repair today. Stripped Knot Auto Repair, located on the corner of Whatchamacallit Street and the mid-state Wisconsin.
All right. Thank you, Strip Nut Auto, for being a sponsor of today's show.
Woot woot.
All right.
What's going on?
The main thing.
Yes. What is the main thing today?
There's this thing going on, protesting, and here in America we have our seasons of protests.
Yeah.
Coming out of the 60s, there was several years where there was protesting all around the country. Coming out of the 90s, there was protesting in certain cities. Starting a couple of years ago, I think, was it 2020, 2021? I'm trying to think of when the
big protests.
Floyd protests started.
George Floyd protests were before 2020. It was.
No, I don't think so, but we can look that up.
You know what? I really don't.
Anyway,
I'll look it up.
And so there was that summer of protesting, and there's just all kinds of stuff that were indirectly related to it. And so Black Lives Matters was
Rittenhouse also caused protesting
part of that.
as well.
Rittenhouse things that were going on.
Recently.
That was here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Rittenhouse was. There are just other things that were related, and I think we had the Wall Street protests where they were taking the tents and camping out in Wall Street. That was well before COVID. Years before, so I'm kind of jumping back and forth here on a timeline. But we've been a country of protesting, and people do that, and so they want to get their point across. They want to get real noisy.
Oh, you're right. It was 2020.
Forceful and make people listen to them with their protesting. So they'll do all kinds of crazy things. Oh man, I wished I would have saved that video. Had you play that? That was awesome. It was this guy in this Beamer. There was a protest dude out in the middle of the street not allowing them to pass in their Beamer.
Yeah.
So the guy took his Beamer and turned it around backwards and literally put his exhaust pipes right up against the guy. Do you know how hot they get? Exhaust pipes can get incredible. You can get burns.
I don't know how hot they get, but I do know they get not deadly hot, but lethally hot. No, not lethally hot.
And so
let's
anyway,
keep backing it down a little bit.
This guy took his Beamer, he whipped it around and backed the butt end of this car right up against the guy right next to his exhaust pipe. And he just floored it to about 5,000, maybe 6,000 RPMs. And the thing was super loud, bling and blazing hot and all that kind of stuff. The dude moved.
I bet. Okay, do you want to know some of the...
I was great. And it gave people some really good ideas.
I have two. Some of the dumbest protests. And there are more on the smaller scale. One of them, I believe, was foreign. Maybe not foreign. So this one happened before, and it was there is apparently a tax on soy products, or basically non-dairy products from Starbucks and stuff. And these people, they got together. I still can't. I think I have dumb thoughts that run through my brain. They're not these people. It's dumb thoughts. Okay, so that makes me somewhat feel better for myself. So, basically, they all got together, and I don't know how many of them, but they sealed their feet in concrete blocks that they mixed and poured themselves. They got a bunch of people to load them in cars to help them, and then set them up in front of Starbucks. And they demanded that Starbucks give them free drinks and water when it got hot in the middle of the day, to be like, we're so thirsty, give us something. But we're protesting you because you suck. Yet we're protesting so that you can, give us...
There's some real conflict of interest in this.
I know. The second one...
Okay, just hang on a second.
Okay.
Let me just... Because the first thing is that, do you know the nitrates and the... it's actually in your mom's soap. What is the thing?
So what specifically?
The most caustic thing in your mom's soap.
Oh, lye.
Yeah, lye. It's the same thing as lye. I'm trying to think of compound. Hydrate.
Yeah, sodium hydrate. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Sodium hydrate.
Or sodium hydroxide. Anyway, so cement has that in it.
Yeah, you get burned from the cement.
It's not trying to think of the words, not emulsified, but there's another word that she does. Anyway, it's not that, so it doesn't lose its causticness. And so if they pour that and they leave their feet in there, do you know the burns?
Yeah.
That they will end up getting off of that. So
I don't know if they protected their feet or not.
So
but
the second thing.
Okay, the second thing is I don't know how many people did this, but to protest a certain type of airlines, an airport, a bunch of people super glued their hands to tarmacs.
Yeah.
You heard about that one?
I've seen that one.
Yeah, so those are the two that I've seen, and of course there's been others that I've heard about and stuff, and I just this is humanity? Are you sure? Okay. Well,
not real intelligence. So we've had ones that there were other ones that have super glued their hands to tarmac, super glued their hands to asphalt in the middle of a road.
Yeah. I think
and then they get the burns and tear their skin, their flesh off and whatever. And I think
I've accidentally gotten super glue on my hands, and I've accidentally I will say the first time it happened,
we're getting off the subject matter here.
My sister intentionally super glued my fingers.
All right. So we're talking about protesting here. And
stupidity? Okay.
No. Now, listen. protesting goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
Right. It's true.
If you think about it, the Boston Tea Party was a protest.
So I have my reservations about protests because of what we have made them to this day.
Sure, there's a big difference between protests at that time and protests now, but we've been a country of protest and protesters, and when we don't like it, a mass of people will get themselves together
heard.
and will say we don't like what the government's doing, or we don't
Right.
like what this organization is doing. We don't like these different things. So
Right.
what I found out, I kind of haven't heard a lot about it until I read some material, and I found out that there has been protests going on college campuses. And I'm not hearing a lot about it in the media,
Okay.
and I think that's probably because they're pro-Palestinian protests. In fact, one of the things that these protesters are doing is that they are taking tents. A lot of the college campuses has a central park.
Yeah.
Central area that has a lawn to it and so forth. And
Okay.
a lot of these, and this protest, they're setting up an encampment on that lawn. That's one of the reasons why it brought back the protest about Wall Street, because they set up tents at that particular one, and they were
Okay.
going to protest Wall Street, and they started in the middle of summer, and everybody kind of snickered and said, yeah, wait till winter comes in New York.
Oh, that
You won't-
protest.
They won't be there. And it is true. They got
New
really
York
inconvenienced with the snow, and
Yeah.
the protest drive, only lasted until the weather turned really crappy.
Hey, I
so.
care, but I don't care
That much. Yeah. Which, by the way, found out that a lot of these they're schools that have conservatives that come in and do guest lectures. And so
Okay.
one of the things that the liberal college students do in order to disrupt them is they will go in and just disrupt them, start screaming, do all kinds of stuff in order to keep the guy from being able to speak so that nobody can stop and listen to it. I just found out the other day how Jordan Peterson beat that.
Jordan Peterson?
Jordan Peterson, a Canadian social psychologist, a doctor, and so forth. And I think some people would call him philosopher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good guy.
Do you know how he got protests to stop at where he was speaking on college campuses?
He took Rotten Tomatoes up with him on
No.
internet.
No.
Okay, what?
He did them at 7 a.m. in the morning. Back to that. Well, I really care and I want to protest, but I don't care that much. Right.
At 7 a.m.
Yeah, he would go to 7 a.m.
That's
and yet
not
the people
that
who really
bad.
the people who really wanted to hear him
would get
would
up and
get
do
up
it.
at 7 a.m. to go.
That's not that bad.
Yeah. But that's all that he did. He come to find out that
Oh
nobody would get up at 7
my
a.m. to come hear him speak or to protest. They weren't that anti Jordan Peterson. Anyway, so yeah, I just found that out the other day, but that's how he was able to get over it.
Okay, hearing about college life has never enticed me. And now hearing about the fact that a lot of them, and of course being conservative myself, I would also go to more of a conservative college.
Yeah.
I'm really happy I'm not in college right now.
Sure.
Even more so with like online classes and stuff, because they're so pushing a narrative. It is even worse to any place that has online classes.
Yeah.
That it's awful. Unless you're talking about Hillsdale, but Hillsdale's awesome. But
Yep.
sadly it's across the lake for me.
Yep, across the lake. So anyway, come to find out that there are schools that are that have these encampments on them, and they're not just
And they're
any
not the
old
dorm
encampment. What we
rooms.
come to find out is it's actually there is an organized group behind these campuses in order to get them going.
Since
and
when? How long have they been a thing?
I don't know. The group is called the Students for Justice in Palestine.
Wait. Oh my word. How long?
Excuse me.
I don't know.
And they are working with these college groups in order to get these encampments on them. So So they are organized. The name of the group is called Students for Justice in Palestine.
SJP?
You can pretty much guarantee that the money for that group is coming from somewhere over in the Middle East. Okay? So anyway, I picked up this article by ADL.
Yeah.
ADL being Anti-Defamation League.
Okay.
Supposed to be for Anti-Defamation League is supposed to be all that, and
yeah.
It's not necessarily a conservative group. Let me just say it that way.
They're not a conservative group, but you can at least somewhat trust that they're fair down the line of reporting.
Not really.
No?
But this is
that's
not.
sad.
It's not a positive. It's not positive or negative. I was really kind of amazed that the article just reported and was kind of down the league. But the one thing that they are doing is they're acknowledging the Students for Justice in Palestine,
Okay.
which means they're putting a spotlight on them and bringing them up. Okay, so, I mean, it'd do well and good if people, really didn't get to know all that, but they are.
Okay.
So they are giving them light and popularity and all that other kinds of stuff. But they give a quote in this article, and you can find it online. Let's see, article, who do they give the article to? There's a lot of the article, I'm going to be honest with you, I just haven't read. I'm really cherry picking from it. Let's see, who do they list as the author of this? No,
they don't.
No, they don't. So I don't have. It's just published by the Anti-Defamation League. But this is what they say. In the second paragraph, Students for Justice in Palestine, the SJP chapters, have played a key role in organizing many of these encampments. National SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, is the umbrella organization of all these local chapters. And they put out a call to action on April 20th, 2024, urging college students, staff, and faculty to, open quote, join the popular university, end quote, and, quote, take back our institutions, end quote. Take back our institutions? They were in control of the institutions at one time, and somebody took control away, and now they want to take control back? Okay. They also said, quote, we will seize our universities and force the administration to divest, end quote. And what did you find out divestment?
Okay, so let's see.
What we want to make sure that we all understand the definitions of these words.
Which, interestingly enough, they used it quite accurately. So, divest, from the Oxford Languages Dictionary, it is deprive someone of power, rights, or possessions, or deprive something of a particular quality.
All right. So they will force the school administration to divest. They will force them to give up their authority.
Yeah, something that obviously they already said that it was yours, right? Like the amount of contradiction just from those few quotes right there is just, geez, wow, that's crazy. All right, you want me to continue?
Yeah. Here's the other thing that they said. They gave their mission statement. Here's the mission statement for Students for Justice in Palestine. We as students will reclaim our power on campus. There will be no classes or compliance with our institutions so long as their shameless profiteering of our genocide persists. Through the student movement for a popular university, we will transform our mass mobilization into sustained, tangible power. We will seize control of our institutions, campus by campus, until Palestine is free. Does that sound like a threat to you?
Hold on. Just, okay. You're using Palestine as an excuse and what is happening over there as a way to be domestic terrorists over here. Because if you actually wanted to help Palestine and the Palestinians and the people over on the Gaza Strip, if you want to name a place in particular, not just a particular people, you would actually, I don't know, do something that would affect over there. Our colleges and campuses would, equip the only thing that would absolutely possibly touch Palestine or help Palestine and the Palestinian people is that colleges are meant to equip and educate people to go out into the world to change the world, and that is the only thing I can think of that would somewhat affect it, but that takes time, years, and is honed. That is not going to actually change anything that is happening. You are just using it as an excuse to be domestic terrorists.
Well, and
Am I wrong?
I would no, but I would question domestic terrorists. I would really like to know how many of them are Palestinian that are involved in this.
Palestinian by descent, but they
if
have...
you're saying, not even by, I'm talking about they came from over there and are going to school over here.
Okay.
And they said by force, this is what they said, they will transform our mass mobilization into sustained, tangible power. That means force.
Okay, then
so by force, they want to seize control of our institutions, campus by campus, until Palestine is free.
Then let me rephrase it. Then it's that it is them indoctrinating people, causing domestic terrorism of turning against your own country.
Again, I'm saying the number of those people that are doing this are actually Palestinian nationals. That's how many are here.
And you do know that they don't get their own hands. They don't get their own hands dirty, though.
It's not just changing ours. It's actually them. It's actually them. You want me to prove it?
You know, there's supposed to be.
Ohan Ilmar's own daughter is one of them that was arrested.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay,
isn't she in?
Isn't she what?
What position that she holds somewhere in political power that we know her of?
Ilhan Omar is a U.S. representative.
Oh, representative. Okay, yeah.
Out of Detroit.
Yeah.
But her daughter is going to an Ivy League school, Columbia, I believe. And she was arrested. However, in the arrest, nobody was criminalized. Nobody was charged with any crimes, and they were all released within an hour. So all they did was do it to disperse the crowd.
Yeah, but remember correctly, it's so that kids on campus could actually, I don't know, do things for college and stuff.
But they went right back to the tent city, and they're doing all of that.
Right.
So,
okay. Fair enough.
So anyway, this is what the stuff that is going on. And it is actually, I think a lot of them are Palestinian nationals. They're radicalizing some Americans, but I think a lot of them is still that. And you are absolutely correct when you said that they are using terrorism, and they said, and how many times have we seen that where somebody has written a manifesto and they've done their shooting, they've done their terrorism, and mission. And this is what they said right here. They released their mission statement. That's what it says in this article from the ADL. They released their mission statement for Popular University for Gaza, and right here it is. We as students will reclaim our power on campus. Through the student movement for a popular university, we will transform our mass mobilization into sustained, tangible power. That's force.
Specifically political. Manifesto is specifically for political.
That's not political? You can call it a mission statement, but that's their
so
that's political.
It is specifically issued before an election by a political party or candidate. It is specifically a manifesto for somebody that is polling for elections.
Okay, I may be using it loosely, but that's a manifesto of what they want to accomplish.
They're going for a dictatorship manifesto, basically. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. If you want to keep it political.
So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't hard to read that, right? I read it, and you're like,
absolutely not.
Wait a minute.
It just struck me.
So they're going to be terrorists on institutions and seize them by force.
Terrorists, someone that is come to terrorize. And I'm sure there's a little bit more behind it, but that is the base word. So
okay. So the last phrase, we will seize control of our institutions. I like that. See, they've already taken ownership. Our institutions, campus by campus, until Palestine is free.
And again, what does that have to do with Palestine? It's just a cover-up. We don't
for terrorism.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And my disagreement with you is that's not domestic terrorism. That's terrorism. That's a Palestinian coming to America, seizing control of a U.S. institution.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to ask
if
is
you are accurate,
how did we get here? How did the people in the admissions department allow so many Palestinians in order that they can come in and literally control their campus?
Well, I was going to say, let's go back to the 60s, but okay, we're totally different. Right. This is basically...
Oh, no, it has its roots in the 60s.
Absolutely.
You're right.
It has so slowly been spiraling down and out of control that you have to look at it... not objectively, but the opposite of that, basically, with no bias at all, and you have to look at it basically with just complete facts. I don't care if you liked this president or whatever, but this is the crap that they caused because of their actions, and you have to look at it. Is it objectively? Is that the actual word?
Yeah, objectively.
And sadly enough, even I have a problem with it. So many Americans and everybody's like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess they did something wrong, but I liked the guy, or, I liked his wife or whatever. And it's like, no, you can't. There were my brother's age. They were teaching a class. I'm keeping everything super vague anyway. They were teaching a class and trying to help them get ready because they were getting ready to turn 18. And they were getting ready to basically be able to vote. So they were helping take them through, like, oh, this political party does this.
I was teaching the class. You want me to help you what we were doing?
Yeah, I was keeping it vague on purpose. Anyway.
We were doing civics, and they needed to do research on how to study
who to vote
for a party. How do you do that? Where do you go? You go to the party's platform. You go to the certain statements, and they release those statements.
Something logical.
Yeah.
Well, one of the girls, I will say that, absolutely.
From the class. Yeah.
Thinking straight up with her emotions. And, that's one thing I absolutely hate and can't stand, even though I do it, and I still hate it myself to do it, so need to work on that. Is she's like, I'm gonna vote for this president. Why are you gonna vote for him? He stands against he stands for something that you are seriously against.
Right. Well, I went down through all the things that she said that she wasn't for.
Right.
I said, well, he's for that. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's for that.
So, but...
I rattled off 3 or 4 things that I knew that she stood for, and I said, but he's... Or that she was against, and I said, he's for that. And she said, I know. Go ahead.
But I like him. I know,
yeah,
but
I'm
gonna
how
vote
she
for
chose
him because I like him.
I like him. And we mentioned 4 things that she was against, that this president was for. 4 categories.
Major things as well, like personal standpoints of belief, faith, and morals, and she still voted him in because I like him.
Because I like him. Yeah. That was totally foreign to me, and to think she had the ability to vote.
I guess that civics class just really didn't matter to her.
Well, I taught her how to go get the information. I mean, she could tell me and show me in his political statements what he stood for, and that she wasn't for those things, but she liked him.
I think I remember you coming home as a kid. I was how old?
I came home as a kid?
No, you coming home when I was a kid. And
Okay.
I was about 7 or 8, probably, maybe a little younger.
Younger, I think.
Oh, 6 or 7, because that wasn't too long before then they turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and they're like, "Yep, no, she's voting for him, even though she's." And I'm like, that doesn't. My brain as a 6 or 7-year-old wasn't putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
So these protests on these college campuses,
Right.
how the question in my brain is, how did it get to this point that they could terrorize the campuses? How did they get the authority to do that? How did they get the flexibility to be able to do that? How did they get the resources to do that? Well, the resources and all that comes through this SJP group.
Yeah.
We see that, but I just don't get how the college campuses allowed it. How it got to the place where they could go out there where they could do that. There's a couple of things that I wanna further go with, and so if you've got the ability, show it on your screen. Let's take a look at the schools that are doing this right now across the country. They're as of the time of this recording, I'm hoping that I got this correct. That's what's being reported on this particular page. There are 13 schools. I'm going to read them off so that you know. Columbia University, Emerson College, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, New York University, Rutgers University, the New School, never heard of that one, Tufts University, I'll tell you I'm really not familiar with that one, University of Maryland, University of Michigan, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Vanderbilt University, Washington University in St. Louis, and Yale University. Now, the bulk of those schools are East Coast.
Yeah.
The bulk of the schools are New England. The bulk of the and almost the majority of the schools are in New York.
Yeah.
So you can take a look at that. But there you go. New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Maryland, and Connecticut. That's where the bulk of the schools are in that area. I will say Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, that is surprising.
That is very surprising. Unless
to
it's
me.
just because it's more of a conservative one anyway, but I don't know. You'd have to do more research on it. Though I gotta say, Michigan, when I've always gotten like the vibe from Michigan, they're like East Coast wannabes. So I mean, that's just
it's a liberal area. The one that does surprise me is University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
That one's sad.
That's sad.
But these are places. We think of it this way: these are places that are being targeted.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess if you want to control stuff, East Coast is still a really important port, and it doesn't make sense to me, but people still flock to those places for those who have a certain mindset. So I guess if you want to flock to the East Coast and it's this place that they maybe want to use those places as like recruitment.
Well, I will say this: one of the things that comes that pops out to me is there is a fairly common thread among those schools. It's this: most of those schools have a very huge and good medical program.
Oh.
Yeah. Columbia medical program, MIT medical program, and some really, really deep bio.
Well, I would assume for MIT more than anything.
Biomed stuff. So New York University has medical. Rutgers has a medical. University of Maryland, University of Michigan, University of North Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Yale. All of those have really special medical departments to them.